I'm Anita Huberman. I'm President and CEO of the Surrey Board of Trade, and I'm an honorary captain of the Royal Canadian Navy. The Surrey Board of Trade is pleased to partner on today's Scotiabank Women's Initiative event called Empowering Women by Prioritizing Equality. First, I'd like to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of our Coast Salish people, specifically the Kwantlen, Katzie, Coquitlam, Kaikut, Semiahmoo, and Tawasin First Nations. We also recognize that we're on the land of the Inuit and Métis peoples. They all have a profound connection to the land and water surrounding our beautiful city of Surrey. Events like this don't happen without sponsorship support. Thank you so much to our progress partners, the law firm of Fasken, BDC, the Business Development Bank of Canada, the Chambers of Commerce Group Insurance Plan represented by SNF Benefits, Western Community College, the law firm of Fasken, and of course, Scotiabank. I'd like to recognize that City of Surrey Councillor Linda Annis is with us also as our government official this afternoon. Welcome, Linda. Just some instructions before we begin. All attendees are muted. As you're listening to the presentation, please type any questions or comments in the chat function of the technology, and we'll get to it after the formal part of the program is over. I wanted to mention that the Surrey Board of Trade, we're one of the top 10 largest chambers of commerce, boards of trades in the country. There's 430 of us. Our whole role is to support business and bring business into Surrey through a very diversified service portfolio. And more specifically, I wanted to speak about the Surrey Board of Trade's women's portfolio and our service delivery to ensure successful career and entrepreneurial pathways for female leaders and for women in business. I encourage you to check out all of the items that we engage in to help women succeed at www.businessinsurrey.com. Our Women in Business team, which is chaired by Rowena Rosati of the Lark Group at the Health and Technology District, is a very vibrant team. If you're wanting to ensure and you're wanting to make change and instigate change in advocacy, participate in events, and really lead leading edge services and educational programs for our female leaders in Surrey, the Surrey Board of Trade is it. The other piece that I wanted to let you know is that Surrey is going to be the largest city in British Columbia. We have the greatest number of manufacturers in British Columbia. A third of our land base is of agricultural production. We have an international docking facility. We're a border facility, border access point. And really, Surrey is an opportunity city. Last night, we recognized our top 25 under 25 awards. Many of them are young female leaders and really ensuring successful outcomes for their peers. So I just wanted to ensure that you understood the potential that really exists, not only for the Surrey Board of Trade, but that Surrey itself is an opportunity city for everyone. I now invite the Small Business Development Manager at Scotiabank, the amazing Paula Thompson, to tell us more about the Scotiabank Women's Initiative. Paula, over to you.
Thank you, Anita. One of a few. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Sisterhood of Business Women workshop brought to you by the Scotiabank Women Initiative and our terrific partner, Surrey Board of Trade. As Anita said, I'm Paula Thompson, Small Business Development Manager in the Fraser Valley area. And I'm also joined by Laurie Bishop, who's in the background, who's a branch manager at Scotiabank. And together we are the lead champions for the Scotia Women Initiative program in BC and Yukon. Before I turn it over to Trish Vale, I wanted to give you a brief overview of what this program is about. So SWI, as we affectionately refer to it, is a signature program designed to increase the economic opportunity for individuals who identify as women or non-binary, and to provide the right support for them to be successful now and in the future. The program launched in 2018 and was established to help women tackle the challenges they face on their path to success and growth. It was our mission to raise awareness of unconscious bias and to help address the systemic issues that are in financial services that impact this growth. So why do we think this is so important for women-led businesses? Honestly, there was a moment of truth for us where we realized that women face different challenges versus our male counterparts when it comes to starting, sustaining, and growing a business. In 2018, when we started this initiative, women-owned businesses contributed $150 billion to the Canadian economy and employed over 1.5 million people. But these same businesses only received 4% of the venture capital investment dollars in Canada. Since then, Scotia Women Initiative has allocated and deployed $3.2 billion in capital to both women-led businesses and women-owned businesses around the country. While we're proud of this milestone at our 3-year anniversary mark, there's still lots of work to do. Finally, there are 3 pillars to our program: unbiased access to capital and tailored solutions, where we are committed to offering equal access to financing for women-owned and women-led businesses. Our teams have undergone rigorous unconscious bias training to support this. Secondly, education, to deliver resources, tools, and workshops such as this aimed to advance careers, elevate skills, and increase financial confidence and technical expertise. And lastly, connecting women with women. So while this one is virtual, we want to provide an environment where you can learn and network. Now, I'd love to introduce Trish Vale, our Vice President, Western Canada for our mobile advice team. Trish is also one of our executive champions for the Scotiabank Women Initiative and a trusted mentor and advocate for so many women and business owners. This workshop you're about to participate in was born from this passion and purpose, and it's my absolute pleasure to give the floor over to you, Trish. Take it away.
Great. Thanks so much, Paula. And Paula's actually doing double duty today because outside of talking about the Scotia Women's Initiative, I've asked her to be my eyes on the other side of this workshop today, because I can't see you at all. And because this is a workshop, I'm going to be asking you to vote virtually by putting up your virtual hand. And so when we get to some of the questions where you're going to be voting on what you think is the right answer, I'll be asking you to put up your virtual hand, and Paula will let me know whether there's more hands for A, B, C, D, etc. And so I do know that in the meeting request that you got for today's session, there was a worksheet that was embedded in that invitation. So you want to make sure that you have that handy, because that's where you're going to be able to capture the answers to the question. The other thing I would say too is, because this is a virtual environment and I'm not on mute, I do have a 75-pound yellow lab who doesn't like crows or the Amazon man. So if Amazon should deliver, or if a crow should land, you're going to hear some barking. So I will apologize in advance for that. But really what today is intended to do is take you out of your busy life and really focus on some key things in your business that you want to accomplish, but also look at your retirement plan. I'm a big advocate of a succession plan as well, because so few Canadian business owners have a succession plan, but that succession plan is really the connection between your business and your retirement. It's really the thoughtful process of what am I going to do with my business when it comes time to retire, because often you have to put that in place long before you actually retire. So that's really the intention of today's workshop. And you know, the first place to start is to talk about the fact that small business is big business here in Canada. 98% of the employment is through companies like yours. It's not through companies like mine with 90,000 employees. 98% of the employment is through small and medium-sized businesses. And a bit of a fun fact, 15.7% of the small business and medium-sized businesses in Canada are owned by women. But the great news is that the fastest growing segment of business is women sole proprietors. And so I talked about the succession plan of being the thoughtful process of going through what am I going to actually do with my business upon retirement. We know from a survey that 3/4 of business owners plan to exit completely. So they're either going to sell, they're going to transfer, they're going to wind down their business, but they're not going to be part of their business when they retire. Another 1/4 of business owners do plan on still staying active in their business somehow, whether it's as a silent partner or whether it's actually as an employee. What we also do know, though, is that for those that are planning on selling their business, a full 1/3 of those people are looking to fund their retirement with the money that they're going to be getting from their sale of their business. That's not a great idea to put all of your eggs in one basket. So the more sources of income that you have and sources of funding you have for your retirement, the better off you're going to be. And we're going to look at that in a couple of slides. Another couple of fun facts as it relates to females, and I'm going to round up here because it makes life easy. The average age of the female business owner is 49, and the average age of retirement for the female business owner is 65. So if you're sitting there thinking to yourself, holy cow, I haven't started retirement planning, I haven't thought of a succession plan, no worries. If you're the average business owner, you've got 16 years, but I would highly recommend starting sooner rather than later to think about retirement and to think about your succession plan. And so from a succession plan perspective, this is where we get into the first question. You know, are you going to be one of the 25% that's still going to be involved in your business somehow? Or are you going to be one of the 3/4 that's looking to exit your business completely, whether it's selling, transferring, or winding down? So if you want to tick off the answer that pertains to you, that would be great. And what I would ask is that if you're somebody that is looking to actually exit your business, if you could put your hand up, and Paula, maybe if if you can let me know what you see, that would be great. So put up your virtual hand. What are you seeing?
I'm seeing
a lot of hands.
I'm seeing one hand. I'm seeing one hand to that question, Trish.
Okay. From a succession plan perspective, there's a couple of things that you want to keep in mind here. There's some issues that you could run into with your succession plan. So one of the issues is if you are looking to pass it down to a friend or family member, is getting on the same page quickly and getting on that same page soon. I can tell you a bit of a funny story that happened to me in Thunder Bay a couple of years ago. I was running this session for the Women's Enterprise Center, and there was about 30 women. It was a breakfast session. It was pre-COVID when it was safe to do that. We got to this question and a bit of a commotion started happening in the back left-hand part of the room. I didn't know what was going on, but at the end of the session, I was going around the room just asking if anybody had questions. I got to the table. I asked if everything was okay. And it turned out that it was a mom and a daughter, and the mom is a very successful graphic designer in Thunder Bay. The daughter was probably in her mid-20s. She had been back from Toronto for probably close to a year. She had done a degree at the University of Toronto, and she was working with her mom. Her mom had assumed that the daughter was going to take over the business when she retired. The daughter actually told her in my session that she had no plans to take over that business when her mom retired, that really when something came up in her own discipline, she was planning on taking that job. So I did ask the mom, you know, when are you thinking of retiring? And she said sort of 12 to 15 years out. And I said, well, that's great because you've got lots of time to figure out a plan B if you still want to pass it on to somebody or whether you want to look for another option like selling it. So when I say, you know, if you're thinking about transferring it to a friend or family member, you definitely want to have that conversation sooner rather than later. The other thing I want to talk a bit about is the value of your business. So if you are looking to sell your business, you do want to get somebody professional in to value your business. So you know that when it comes time to sell, that it's going to be a fair market price and it will be easier to sell. And so for me, I had a small business about 20 years ago, and I wanted to come back into the wealth business because I'd been in the wealth business for a long time, wealth and investments. And so we brought PricewaterhouseCoopers in to value the business so that when my partners were buying me out, I knew I was getting a fair price, and my partners knew that they were going to be paying a fair price. So number one is to make sure that you do get somebody in that's professional to value your business. But one of the issues that can come up is between the time that you get the business valued and it actually comes time to sell it, which for me was about a year. It might be that there is a downturn in the economy. So, over the last couple of years, we've been through COVID, and it was really tough to sell businesses through COVID. There might be a situation like that that you run into when it comes time to sell your business. The other thing that might happen is there might be a change in the demand for your product or service, which again might actually impede getting the value for the business that you are thinking that you're getting. So remember to always get the professional valuation in, but also recognize when it does come time to sell, there might be an economic downturn, or there might be a chance that the product or service demand has changed. So that's why it is very important when you are looking at your retirement income is to try to have different sources, diversifying your retirement income so that it's more stable. And so what I would like you to do on your worksheet in question number 2 is tick off as we go here the sources of income that you're expecting when it comes time for retirement. So, do you have registered retirement savings plans? Do you have a workplace pension? Or if you are a business owner, you might have an individual pension plan. Are you expecting government sources like a Canada pension plan or an old age security? Or maybe you are somebody that is going to stay working part-time in retirement in your business for the new owners, in which case you're drawing an income from your business. You also might be a Canadian controlled private corporation, which means that you're eligible for special tax considerations, which would be something good to talk to your accountant about if you do fall into the CCPC category. And certainly last but not least is the other sources of income. So it could be you're expecting inheritance, could be that you're looking to downsize your home, so you're gonna have a bit of a nest egg, or it could be that you're looking to maybe sell a rental property. But another, as I say, source of retirement income to go into that retirement bucket. So this is what I'm going to get you to do. I'm just going to get you to count up how many ticks you have. And Paula will try the virtual hand one more time and we'll see how it goes. But if you have more than 3, or let's say 3 or more tick marks, if you can put up your hand, and then Paula, if you can let me know what you see.
Will do.
So 3 or more tick marks, put up your hand. You seeing
3
anything,
hands,
Paula?
Trish. 3 hands.
3 hands? Okay, perfect. Thank you. So this is question number 3. I talked earlier about, one of the purposes of this particular program is to take you away from your busy life, to focus on your business and to focus on financial planning. As women, we wear a lot of hats, and sometimes I don't think we appreciate how many hats we wear. And it's really about balancing all of those hats, right? I mean, we're trying to keep healthy and well ourselves, to chunk out time for our health. We're looking to spend time with parents and our kids. We're looking to take out time for, activities, whether it's about volunteering for our kids' soccer or softball program. It's also trying to be equitable with our career and family life, but it's also spending time with our friends. And so what I would like you to do in question number 3, so you can appreciate how many hats you wear, as we go through this list, I would like you to tick off whether or not it relates to you. So are you a boss, wife, mom, caregiver, friend, coach, employee, volunteer? And then there's an other box, and I put in there chief dog walker with a great big check mark in it because I take my dog for at least 1, if not 2 walks a day. And so here's what I'm going to get you to do. I'm going to get you to add up your tick marks. And instead of putting your virtual hand up, because it looks like we don't have a ton of participation, but it's important for you to add up the tick marks. If you have 6 or more, what I would tell you is that is the average of what I see in this workshop, that most women have ticked off 6 or more different hats that they're actually wearing. And so one of the hats we did not talk about was whether or not women are the chief financial officer of their family. So are they the person that is handling the everyday expenses? And so question number 4 is, what percentage of women handle the everyday expenses? So if you think it's 25 to 45, you want to circle A. If you think it's 45 to 65, you circle B. 65 to 85, you circle C. Or 100%, you will circle D. So what I will tell you is, if you were one of the ones that circled C, you have the correct answer. So 85% of women are the chief financial officer of their family. They are the ones that handle the everyday expenses. What's interesting, though, is only 23% of women actually get involved or take the lead in being part of the long-term financial planning or the investments as it relates to the family. So big difference between being the chief financial officer versus being the chief executive officer or the co-chief executive officer. And I can tell you what we see in the bank is we will see a lot of widows come into the bank. Their husband has passed away, and because they weren't part of the financial planning or the investment part, they don't know where their accounts are. They don't know what kind of accounts there are. They don't know whether or not they've got any investments. They don't know whether or not they're going to be okay in retirement and for the rest of their life. So we are tremendous advocates of both spouses being equally involved in the investments and the financial planning side of things. And so, the question then becomes, why is it that so few women actually get involved in the investments and the financial planning in their family? Is it because they don't feel tremendously confident about finance and investments? And that's why question 5 is here. So what percentage of Canadian women say they know very little about finance and investments? So again, if you think it's 5 to 20%, you circle A, 20 to 30, circle B, 30 to 50, you circle C, and if it's over 50%, you're going to want to circle D. So again, if you are one of the ones that circled C, the C's have it. And so 38% of women claim that they know very little about finance and investing. So I like to look at it as glass half full here, which is that 62% of women do say they feel very comfortable about dealing with finances and dealing with financial planning and investments. So, what I would say is, if you haven't gotten involved in the financial planning and investments in your family, you definitely want to become part of that. And as part of the same survey, there was a couple of other stats that came out specific to women. 9 out of every 10 women say that there's one aspect of their finances that they tend to struggle with. That one is debt. The other stat that's come out is that 28% of Canadian women say that they are dependent on a partner or someone else to help them meet their ends financially. And so this is really why a financial plan is so important. I've been a financial planner for almost 30 years now. And I know that financial plans give people comfort that they're on the right track to achieving their goal and preparing for, things that may happen that are unforeseen. And so 81% of Canadians that have a financial plan feel that they're on track with their financial affairs. And in very specific circumstances, 65% say that they feel that they can manage through tough economic times thanks to their financial plan. A tough economic time would be a long-term window. So we would be looking at, for instance, COVID, which has lasted for 2 years, which has been tough economically. We also had the credit crisis back in 2008, 2009, which was a very tough couple of years as well. So managing through tough economic times means managing through a long-term event, which is in contrast to the 60% of people that feel that they are more prepared for an emergency. The emergency is kind of a one-time thing, like your roof leaks and you need to go and get another roof. And by the way, a rule of thumb for us is that you should have 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, household expenses, saved up as income for those tough economic times or for that emergency, so that you've got that buffer. And by the way, a bit of a fun fact for you. Back in 2009, the Canadian government created the tax-free savings account as a vehicle to incent us as Canadians to actually save for that rainy day and to save for those tough economic times. And it was on the heels of the credit crisis in 2008 when they put this into effect, because they felt we were not well prepared for the credit crisis. And so they, as I say, they wanted to incent us to save, and they did so by creating the tax-free savings account. Another stat that came out of that same survey was that 50% feel that they're on track to retire the way they want and when they want. A couple of other stats that came out of this same survey, which is not on this slide. Number one is that 62% of people that have a financial plan feel that they have become better savers. And 73% of people with a financial plan feel more confident that their loved ones are actually going to be looked after should something perilous actually happen to them. So there's a lot of really good reasons to have a financial plan. So question number 6 is, what percentage of women do not have a financial plan? So if you think it's 10 to 20%, you circle A, 20 to 40%, circle B, 40 to 50%, circle C. And if you think that more than 50% of women do not have a financial plan, I want you to circle D. So if you circle D, then you are correct. 56% of women do not have a financial plan. Again, I'm going to look at this a bit glass half full here and say that 44% of women do have a financial plan. So, if you are part of that 56% that doesn't have a plan, remember that plan helps you control your finances. It gives you the roadmap to achieving your goals. It helps you weather the downturns, helps you prepare for an emergency, and helps protect your family. So I'm a true proponent of getting a financial plan. So, if you are part of that 56%, you'll definitely want to go and get a financial plan. As a financial planner, the first place that we will typically start when it comes to understanding you as a person and what your priorities are is to take a look at some of your goals. And I would say that on the entire worksheet, probably question number 7 is the meatiest and probably the most important to you, because it is the foundation of that financial plan. And it's where we probably spend the most time at the get-go in an initial meeting when we're doing a financial plan. So on question number 7, as we go here, I would like you to jot down some thoughts as they come to you. So question 7A is about your personal goals, and question 7B is really about your business goals. And so if we look at your personal goals first, I want you to think about maybe any current priorities. So maybe one of your goals is to reduce your debt. That would be deemed a current priority. Maybe one of your goals relates to your family. So as the picture shows, there's a child in the picture. Maybe you have children, maybe you have grandchildren, and maybe you want to put money away for an education savings program for them. Maybe it's something that relates to retirement. My husband and I are a few years away from retirement, but we were both born and raised in the Okanagan, and we would definitely like to move back to the Okanagan when we retire. So 2 years ago, we started looking for property, knowing that we didn't want to wait until we retired to find our retirement home, but we better start to look ahead of retirement. So maybe you're somebody that hasn't put a retirement plan in place, and that might be one of your goals. A lifestyle goal would be, maybe a family vacation. I mean, we've been locked up for almost 2 years. And maybe you haven't seen, some family that lives, outside of the Greater Vancouver area for a long time, and you want to take a nice trip to see them. Or maybe you want to take a big family trip together. That would be deemed to be a lifestyle goal. Maybe the goal relates to your home. I hear renovations are through the roof and have been for the last couple of years. So maybe it's about you staying in your home and renovating your home. Maybe it's actually related to downsizing your home and looking for that next home and looking to get your home set to actually sell. So those are some personal goals that you could think about in question 7A. And as I say, that's where a financial planner will start, with what are your goals. From a business perspective, so question 7B is about your business. Maybe you're looking to expand your business. Maybe you're looking to hire more staff. Maybe you're looking to develop another product. Maybe you're looking for a partner to come into the business as an injection of capital to grow that business. And so those are just sort of 4 ideas around what some of your goals might be. Or you could also have a renovation in your business too, if you actually have a storefront. So if you could just jot down a couple of goals that you have for your business, that would be great. And so what does that financial planning process look like? So as I mentioned, as a financial planner, we will always start on the goal side of things. You know, what is it that you're looking to accomplish both personally and in your business? And this is really part of the understand piece. Part of the understand piece too is where are you at today? And what have you tried to do to get you to where you want to be with your goals? So we take stock of all of that, we take it away, and we will develop the financial plan for you. And I always tell my financial planners that they are really the financial physician for their clients. So much like you go to a medical doctor, if you have an ailment, you know, the medical doctor will ask you a lot of questions. We'll usually do an examination and then we'll give you some kind of prescription. We're kind of the same way. And so just as you would not be evasive with a medical doctor, we don't want you being evasive with us. We want you being transparent with us when we're asking questions, because we really are trying to diagnose, you know, how we do get you from point A to point B with the goals that you have. What I can tell you is that when we do get to this action plan stage, sometimes you have choice. And so when we get back together with you and we go over the plan that we've done, you know, often we'll say, for instance, you've done a great job saving for retirement. And in fact, we think you can either stop making contributions to your retirement plan, or we can conservatize your portfolio from a balanced portfolio to a conservative portfolio. We've told many clients they can retire earlier than they had planned on retiring. And if none of those are palatable to you, you still want to retire with the same portfolio, the same goal, and at the same time, then you'll be lucky and be able to retire with a lot more money than you were planning. Sometimes we're the bearer of bad news and have to tell a client we can't get them from point A to point B without some other choices. And so sometimes it's about, you know, increasing the return on the portfolio from, say, a balanced to a growth portfolio to have the market earn more money in that retirement plan. Sometimes it's about increasing contributions into the RRSP. Sometimes it's retiring at, say, 67, 68 versus 65. Or sometimes it's just about accepting that you're going to have less money in retirement. But these are choices that we can go through with you to determine, like, what is the best option for you? What do you like, so that we can actually put a stake in the ground when it comes to that financial plan. Once that financial plan is done, we will revisit it on an annual basis at least, because we want to see if there's any changes that have taken place. But if there has been a material change in your life within that year, we'd like to see you sooner. So I always say a material change is something notable, like a birth, a death, a job loss, a new job, that kind of thing. Something that, you know, you would probably talk to friends and family about. Because usually when there is a material change, it means that there is likely going to be a change in your financial plan, and we want to do that sooner rather than later. The other thing I want to talk a little bit about is retirement, because a lot of people think retirement is just one stage. You know, you retire and you're in retirement for, say, 15, 20, sometimes up to 30 years, and it all looks the same. The reality is retirement is 3 distinctive stages. It's the go-go stage, it's the slow-go stage, and it's the no-go stage. So as a financial planner is working through retirement with you, they're investigating those 3 stages with you, because they also have 3 different price tags, which we need to build into the financial plan. And so the go-go stage is really what we envision in retirement. You know, it's golfing more, traveling more, spending more time with the grandkids, that kind of thing. And that's usually about the first 10 years of retirement if you're traditionally retiring around 65. So in the mid 70s is usually when health issues start to crop up, and this is where retirement usually changes a little bit. And I love to use my mom as an example here, because in the go-go stage, she was traveling all over the world. She was golfing, 2, 3, sometimes 4 times a week, all through the year. So even through the winter and the fall months. And then when she was about 75, she started having really terrible problems with her knees and her breathing. And she was diagnosed with COPD and asthma, and she was also diagnosed with severe arthritis in her knees. So a couple things happened. Number one, she became very concerned about traveling to countries that didn't have a great healthcare system in case something happened. So she was sticking to places like Australia, Iceland, the US, that kind of thing. So the type of travel that she did change, but she still went traveling. The other thing is she could now not golf 6 months of the year because she was relegated to taking a cart. And if you're a golfer, the carts don't go out in the fall and winter in the Greater Vancouver area because of the rain and tearing up the fairway. So she substituted seniors exercise for those 6 months as opposed to golfing. So she still has a very robust retirement. It just looks a little bit different. And that's what we would categorize as the slow go stage. The no-go stage is usually in the mid 80s and beyond. And this is when people need to start getting help, whether it's assisted living in the home or whether it's assisted living in, say, a senior's facility. That is generally the most expensive part of your retirement. So you will usually see us model in 3 different price tags for the go-go, the slow-go, and the no-go stage of retirement. So I like to bring these up in the workshop, as I say, so you can start thinking about retirement in those 3 stages, as opposed to traditionally what we do, which is thinking about it in that one stage. I've talked about the importance of a succession plan, and believe it or not, only 8% of business owners actually have a succession plan. That means 92% of business owners do not have a succession plan. And so here's what I would like you to do. If you are one of the 92% that doesn't have a succession plan, back in question 7B, I would like you to write in succession plan, because that should be a goal of yours to think about what it is that you want to do at retirement with your business. And equally important as an estate plan on the business side, or succession plan on the business side, is the estate plan on the personal side. So the estate plan is having a will, powers of attorney, guardianship for minor children. And what's not on this slide, but also I think is equally important, is making sure the beneficiaries are set up properly on the registered plans. So like your registered retirement savings plan, your registered retirement income fund, your tax-free savings account, that kind of thing. And so this is where question 8 comes in. What percentage of adult Canadians do not have an estate plan? If you think it's 10 to 20%, circle A, 20 to 40%, circle B, 40 to 50, circle C. And if you think it's over 50%, then I want you to circle D. And so if you circle D, you have the correct answer. So 51% of Canadians do not have an estate plan. And what I would tell you from my own experience is even part of the 49% that do have an estate plan, it's out of date. I've seen wills where the executor has died. I've seen it where the guardian for the children has moved away to a different country. And so equally important as having an estate plan is having an up-to-date estate plan as well. And, to kind of underscore the importance of having an estate plan, particularly a will, a couple of years ago when one of our Surrey branches, the branch manager had referred clients into one of the investment specialists to do a financial plan, and it was just before Christmas, so Christmas before last. And it was a Mr. and a Mrs. That also had 2 teenage children, 2 teenage boys actually. And through the financial plan, the investment specialist asked about the estate plan, found out that they didn't have wills, didn't have a power of attorney. There had been no discussion of guardianship for the kids. And he also discovered when looking at the accounts that they had at Scotia that the beneficiaries were not on these accounts. So when he got back together with the clients to put together the action plan, he said, here's what I see. And, you really need to go and you really need to get powers of attorney. You really need to get a will, and you really need to determine who that guardianship is going to be for your minor children. And, we need to update your beneficiaries now while I've got you. The couple acknowledged that this is something that's been on their list of things to do. They hadn't gotten around to it, but they promised the investment specialist, financial planner, that they would do it after Christmas. The investment specialist goes off on vacation, comes back, and it's now after Christmas. He's picking up his voicemails, and it's a voicemail from the missus. And the missus tells the investment specialist that the Mr. had got COVID over Christmas and had passed away. And she was frantic. So much like the widow story I told you a few slides ago, here is a situation where she's dealing with the death of her husband, but the estate stuff actually was not settled because there was no will. Thankfully, the guardianship, it didn't really pertain because obviously she didn't pass away either. But incredibly important to have that up-to-date estate plan, because, as I say, for this particular woman, it just made a bad situation even worse because she was now dealing with a spouse that had died intestate. So in question 7A, if you do not have an estate plan, or if you're wondering whether or not it's updated, I want you to make sure in question 7A that you put an estate plan and in brackets update if you have one, but you're not sure if it's actually updated. The one thing I want to mention too, and this is about powers of attorney, because they can be confusing. And even though I'm not a lawyer, and I highly recommend you go to a lawyer or notary to get these done, there's a couple of different types of powers of attorney, and it really has to do with whether the individual has capacity or doesn't have capacity. There's an enduring power of attorney, which means that the attorney can act on behalf of somebody that does not have capacity, so does not have capacity to make decisions or execute their financial affairs. That's called an enduring power of attorney. A regular power of attorney is where the individual actually has capacity. So the power of attorney, the attorney is actually acting on behalf of somebody that has capacity. So that might be somebody that's, on and around the world trip and is going to be gone for a long time and needs somebody to look after their affairs while they're gone. There actually is a third kind of power of attorney, and it's a bank power of attorney. I don't recommend it though, because it only really relates to that financial institution. You want to do it properly. You want to go to a notary or a lawyer, and as I say, get your will done or updated. Make sure you get your powers of attorney done so that you know that your estate plan is in good order. From a financial plan perspective, there's a misunderstanding, I think, of what financial plans are. People often think it's just about investments, but it's not. It's really holistic in approach. And so as a financial planner, we'll start at cash flow. We'll look at ins and outs of money and what's left over that we can attribute to building the wealth to achieve those goals. As you just heard in the last customer story I told you, we always do a temperature check on where the estate is at. And we'll recommend people go to a lawyer or notary if it's not where it needs to be. The protection side of things, we always want to know if somebody's protected their income or their assets, and if they haven't, we tell them they should go see an insurance agent. Many clients will tell us that they're either downsizing or they're looking to upsize or they're looking for a rental property, in which case they need to see a realtor. Often we'll recommend investment strategies that will have tax consequences. So we'll tell clients to go and see their accountant to make sure that everything is in order and makes sense for them from a tax perspective. Sometimes, as you heard, it's about borrowing. So somebody's goal is to reduce the debt that they have. And we'll always investigate those goals, like I said. So we talked about retirement, an emergency fund, a kids education fund, a major purchase, that kind of thing. And then the investments are usually the last thing that we do. And the investments are usually used to fund whatever those goals are. And we will use the cash flow to actually do it. So a financial plan is a lot more than just investments and a goal, but it's actually looking at your entire financial picture to make sure that it's in place. I love this question. It's my favorite question. Question number 9, is there a gender gap in investing? So what is the performance difference between men and women investors? So circle A if you think there's no difference. Circle B if you think that women outperform. Circle C if you think men outperform. And circle D if you think that men really outperform when it comes to investing. And if you circled B, that women outperform, you had it right. And so women outperform generally by 1 to 5% on investments. And when you do a little digging to find out why, there's 3 key reasons. Number 1, we tend to be less speculative when it comes to the investing because we want to make sure that we're protecting our hard-earned money and our family's money. Number 2, we actually, believe it or not, are less emotional when it comes to investing. We like to make sound decisions, which also then segues into the 3rd reason, which is we're really not swayed by rumor. We're much more swayed by actual fact. So, you know, if you tie this all together, I said only 23% of women get involved in the investing and financial planning for the family, yet 63% of women say they're very comfortable with investments and financial planning. We now know that we're actually really good at picking the investments and working with the advisor on picking the investments for the financial plans. So again, if you've not been involved in your family's financial planning and investments, there's another reason why you should get involved. And the very last question, you know, you've probably seen the commercials over the last couple of years about Questrade. And so Questrade, their sort of caption is, you're not still investing with mom and dad's advisor, are you? And it really relates to the fees. And so what they're basically saying is if you go to a do-it-yourself platform, you'll find investments have lower fees. And it's absolutely true. And I would say if you're somebody that has time and expertise on the investment side, absolutely go to a do-it-yourselfer platform like a Questrade or an iTrade or something like that, because the fees will definitely be lower. But if you don't have the time, if you don't have the expertise, then, you know, question number 10 is, does it make a difference working with the advisor? And so if you think that the advisor makes no difference when it comes to building wealth and building your investment assets, then you would circle A. If you think the advisor will build 2 times more wealth for you, then you circle B. If you actually think it's a detriment to working with an advisor and having the advisor work with you and they're actually going to lose wealth for you, then circle C. If you think that advisor actually is going to build 4 times more wealth, then I want you to circle D. And so this is your last chance to see if you got it right. And so if you circle D, you got it right. The advisor actually does help individuals build wealth. And there's 2 key reasons for that. Number 1 is the financial plan. That roadmap is really, really important to be able to get that financial house in order and on your track to achieving the goals. I would also tell you that the advisor will talk you down off the ledge when markets are going down. And so the worst possible time to be getting out of the market is when the market is actually going down. And that's often when we get the most calls. And so they will keep you on the straight and narrow when it comes to choppy markets, when a lot of the do-it-yourselfers are likely making the wrong decision. And so here's my ask of you today, is we've talked a lot about financial planning. We've talked a lot about succession planning. You have the beginnings of an encompassing financial plan through question number 7. I'd like you to make contact with your financial advisor in the next 24 hours. And I'd like you to do a financial plan or get your financial plan updated. And the reason why I say 24 hours is because I know that the longer the time goes on after this session, the less likely you are to actually go in to get a financial plan done or a financial plan updated. So that's my ask of you today. As I say, I'm a fundamental believer in the financial plan. I wouldn't be in this business if I didn't. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Paula here. Because I think, Paula, you've got some door prizes, if I remember correctly.
I do. Before that, just wondered if there's any questions for Trish. Okay. Now I think, Anita, you're going to do the honors of drawing a couple of names, and we have a few giveaways on behalf of Scotiabank Women Initiative, and hopefully some inspirational reading. So go for it. I'm not sure if it's Heather or Helena's going to draw the names or pass it on to you.
Yeah, so my colleagues have drawn the names, and thank you so much, first of all, to Scotiabank for hosting this event. Such valuable information, because so often as women, we're so focused on what we need to do in our daily lives, whether it's work or personal, and we're never thinking really about the future or our financial management and how we need to think about that to protect ourselves. So thank you so much for your valuable advice. And Scotiabank has some prizes for you. They're going to be delivered to the lucky winners. They're a notepad and pen. That is the first prize, and the second prize is a hardcover copy of Rebecca Minkoff's book, Fearless. Scotiabank recently hosted Rebecca on a podcast for Scotiabank Women's Initiative. So just some amazing prizes, and also just for you to keep in mind that you need to think about your finances and the management of that into the future. The lucky winners are Katie Openshaw and Christine Butkus. Congratulations to you. We will contact you after the event and deliver those gifts to you. Just a reminder that there's some very limited tickets for our very popular Surrey Women in Business Awards, featuring keynote speaker Jody Wilson-Raybould on May 13th. And of course, it is going to be in person at the Sheraton Hotel in Surrey. Check out the details at businessinsurrey.com. And with that, I wish all of you a great evening, and make it a great business of Friday tomorrow and a great weekend. And remember, Surrey is an opportunity city for everyone.